So it's the second day of Chol HaMoed Pesach, Tafshin Tet, right? Yud Chet Nisan.
That's what it says.
Yes, and it's, by the way, the birthday of the Rebbe's father today. And the bris, and your bris happened today, right? It's the bris of the Rebbe too, so, you know. So
That's interesting.
that's very interesting, yeah. So we are learning the book of Shmuel, and we are in chapter 5, Pasuk 6, right? Yeah. And we're in the midst of trying to figure out what to do with the ark. The Philistines captured the ark, the holy ark, and they put it in they put it in their temple called Bet Dagon in the city of Ashdod, and things started happening. Unnatural things started happening. Their god fell down, and then the god was chopped in a few pieces, and God was trying to give them a message that something is up with the ark, and they should return it. But they felt very good about the ability that they were able to capture it, and they refused to look the truth in the eyes, and so the situation became worse. Situation became worse for them. We're gonna see that they're gonna take it from city to city, 3 cities, and in each city the lashes became worse. The problem became worse and worse and worse. So we are in the first stop of the ark, in the city of Ashdod. After giving them a couple of hints with their God, just hurting their God but not touching them, they didn't understand. They didn't want to understand. So Vatichbad, we are in Hey Vav, right? Vatichbad yad Hashem al el Ashdodim. So God's hand became very heavy on the Ashdodites. Vayishimem vayachotam batchorim et Ashdod ve'et gvulea. So he Vayishimem, he made them desolate. What does it mean desolate? He started hurting their sustenance, their economy. Everything, their fields became desolate. And it usually takes time for a field to become desolate. But here, God put them on a fast track, and he sent, some said he sent mice, a lot of mice. And the mice ate up the entire, produce, all the wheat in the fields, and it became desolate. So that was one problem that happened over there. And they still didn't listen or didn't connect the dots. So they got hemorrhoid. Okay, they all got hemorrhoid, but a severe one. But only the adults in Ashdod, only the adults received that problem, and hemorrhoids happens to be, something that hurts people in a place that the sun doesn't shine, that it doesn't see. And that's what the rabbis say, it's not my words. In Bet Astarim, right? Somewhere that it doesn't, it's in a hidden place, to signify to them that the ark should be in a hidden place. So again, it was not done in a haphazard, just pick a spot in the body to hit. It was also the and we will see it more consistently. We've seen it already in history before this, more consistently, that those who consider themselves gods, and that includes all of the leadership of the idol worshippers, in truth, till this very day. I mean, you have people like leaders in some countries, that are, I don't want to mention the name of the countries, but they feel that they're they're gods. And one of in those days, the sign, the difference between a human and a god is that gods don't need to go to the bathroom. Because they had idols, right? Idols made out of stone. Stone typically don't go to the bathroom. So those humans who considered themselves God, they wanted everybody to believe that they don't go to the bathroom. What? Like Paro. What did Paro do? Right? Paro went to
the river.
He went to the river. He went to the mikveh, right? He went to the Nile every morning in order to do his thing and not to use. So here they had 5 cities. The Philistines had 5 cities, and the 5 cities had 5 governors. And those governors wanted the common people to believe that they're sort of gods. So they got hit with something that, they have to run to the bathroom, all the time. So everybody sees that they're not what they think that they are, what they say that they are.
What is this business though, like with the 2 different words? Usually when you have the parentheses, it just is,
right.
a little different.
Right, it's different word. It appears the same way, by the way, in the Torah, in the Tochacha. It appears the same way. It's written one way and it's read another way. It's 2 different words for the same disease. And I think that what we're reading is more severe than what's written. We're reading Batchorim even though it's written Ba'afulim. Ba'afulim is a more gentle way of saying it. Tchorim is basically hemorrhoids, so, not to write that kind of a word. They wrote it in their Latin, to be more gentle on the ear. That's the explanation that I saw about
so
this.
When Carter had hemorrhoids, did the Israeli papers bring this up?
The who?
The Israeli
Carter
newspapers, yeah.
Let's not go into presidents. Play the presidents' games right now. Vayir'u anshe Ashdod kichen. So the people of Ashdod saw. Now what happened also with the Ashdodites, when their god fell, what went through their mind? They thought it's a mistake. It happens. It's a coincidence. It fell one day. It fell another day. I don't know. Something happened. There was a seismic activity and it fell. They didn't really want to connect it to the ark. So now the city, all of the adults in the city were hit with a problem, and so they started thinking maybe it's the ark that's sitting here, because all of the other locations, the other 4 cities were not touched, and the only difference is seemingly that the ark is here. So ואמרו לא ישב ארון אלוקי ישראל עמנו. So maybe let's start debugging the problem, Let's start changing one thing at a time, see what happens. So let's just move the ark from our city to another city. Maybe לא ישב ארון אלוקי ישראל עמנו כי קשתה ידו עלינו ועל דרכון אלוהינו. Because the hand of the ark is heavier on us and on our God. So now they started connecting the dots, and they said, they felt that they don't have the authority, nor did they have the will to give the ark back. So, they only 1 out of 5. So I said, you know what, maybe we had some sort of an ancient sin that we are getting hit for right now. So a curse or something that's surfacing now because we have the ark here. So let's just ship the ark somewhere else. And that will teach us, first of all, it will give us hopefully immediate relief, number 1. Number 2, it will really gives us an idea if the ark is the culprit. Because if the problem is with the ark, when the ark goes to the second city is going to get hit, so we will know for sure, or we'll know better. וישלחו ויאספו את כל שרני פלישתים עליהם ויאמרו מה נעשה לארון אלוקי ישראל. So again, because it was a democracy of sorts, they couldn't really they didn't have authority to make decisions on their own. They were all led by this Duma of 5 people, right? Or the parliament of 5. So they called all those 5 Sranei Plishtim and they told them, what should we do? Where should we send it? So they said, "Ve'hu gat Yisov Aron Elokei Israel." So let's take the ark and let's take it in circles. Let's elongate the way. So it's out of both cities for a while, but let's head to Gat. And again, they were trying to debug the situation, to see what is causing it. And so they took the ark in a roundabout way from Ashdod to Gat. Vayasevu et Aron Elokei Israel. So, and they were turning it over there. In Gat itself, they were turning the ark in the city. They were changing its location. So, and they thought that here we go, that's something that will help them. And what happens is what was expected. So after they sent the ark to the city of God, Vati Yad Hashem Ba'ir. So the hand of God arrived also in town. He didn't, when you try to lose someone who's following you, so you go in roundabout, making a lot of turns, right? So they thought maybe taking the ark in circles, they lose God in one sivuv, they'll be able to get rid of him. So God showed up as well, and there was mehuma gdola, and there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos. Vayach et anshe ha'ir mikaton ve'ad gadol. So now it expanded. Now not only the old ones, but also the young ones received that same disease, the same problem. Vayisteru lahem tchorim, and they also got isteru. So there is a known rule in grammar that some letters are you can exchange some letters with other letters. It's so the letter sin is exchanged with the letter samech many times, which turns this word into hidden. Okay. There is also something that I noticed, that their God, all of the idols, like a general name for the idols, was called Ashtarot. So Ashtarot is a name of an idol, and Vayishtaru means the Ashtarot. That's their idols. That's what they got. They got them into this hemorrhoid cycle. So it didn't really help them much.
Or maybe their idols got hemorrhoids.
The hemorrhoids, right? I don't know about that. So that's the second place that the city was hit. So then they moved the hot potato to the next city. Vayishalchu et Aron ha'elokim Ekron. So they moved it to the city of Ekron. City of Ekron is more inland, closer to the border with the Jewish territory. So they sent it more inland. ויזעקו העקרונים לאמור, היסבו אלי את ארון אלוקי ישראל עמיתני ואת עמי. So now the Ekronites started screaming that, you sent to my district this toxic, this bomb, and it's exploding. What, are you trying to kill me? So again, because they were operating as a democracy, so Vayishlechu vayasfu et kol sranei Plishtim. So they got all of their parliament together. Vayomru shalchu et Aron Elokei Israel vayashuv limkomo. And the Ekronites were standing and and demanding to send the ark back to its place. Velo yamit oti ve'et ami, and it should stop killing me and my people. Now, in the third stop in Ekron, it wasn't only that they got hemorrhoids, they died. So those who didn't get hemorrhoids died, and those who didn't die got hemorrhoids. So,
Do we know from what they died?
so what I saw is that they died from it. They died from the hemorrhoid. It was a very severe hemorrhoid. It made them bleed profusely.
And they didn't have preparation.
And they did right. They didn't have any help or first aid kits. It's really gross, but I have to say it because soon we'll see. They're trying to fix it. It wasn't only hemorrhoid; it was also mice. As they were going to the bathroom, the mice were just attracted to it, and they were running around in the streets with their guts. I mean, it's crazy. So they tried to fix it afterwards by giving some sort of a present to God, an image of a mice and an image of their rear end. It's insane. And it's but
How do you make a golden image of
a golden, yeah, well, I mean, they had, they set on a Xerox machine or on a 3D printer, a golden hemorrhoid, golden.
I learned Shmuel in school. I never remember learning this.
Many times they would skip that because it would be the kids. They would skip. Let's just skip this. I'll just summarize it for you, and nobody paid attention.
They probably said hemorrhoids and you had no idea what they were talking about.
Exactly.
They say.
No, but I don't know.
Anyway, but it was really really terrible what happened over there. There was a chaos. People died all over. There was a chaos in the entire city. And over there, the hand of God was the most severe, the heaviest. So the people who did not die received that terrible problem and terrible hemorrhoids, and they screamed. The city would scream up to heaven to try to avoid, to try to fix it. So. Vayhi, so now we're in chapter 6. Vayhi Aron Hashem b'sdei Plishtim shiva chodashim. So what did they do next? Again, because they had 5 centers of power, not one of them was able to really make a serious move on their own. So the immediate thing was, let's take this thing out of here. So they took the ark and put it in the field. They left it in the field, at least it's not in the city, and the people are. So apparently that helped a little bit, and the people of the city not stopped dying. It provided immediate relief. And it was there for 7 months. It seems that since the battle that happened, a chapter ago, when they captured the ark, until now, it's only days. It's like a week worth of happening, because they right away took it to Ashdod. First day, the god fell. The second day, it fell and broke, and then the third day they got hit. I don't know how long they sustained themselves, but it seems not a long time. Then they sent to the next city and to the next city. So we're talking within a couple of weeks, maybe a month, my estimation of where we stand now. And then they put it outside in the field. It didn't cure them all, but it stopped the terrible chaos. I think people probably stopped dying. But the hemorrhoid continued, and it lasted 7 months. Now, why 7 months? So that takes us back to the story of Abraham. Abraham was, the Philistines lived at the time of Abraham, which was 400 years earlier. So 400 or 500 years earlier, Abraham lived over there with the Philistines. And he went there was famine in Israel, and there was plentiful. There was no famine in that area of the world, in the in Ashdod and Ashkelon, in the Philistines parcel of land. So he went there, and then the king of the Philistines, Avimelech, took his wife, took Sarah, and captured her, and saw she's very beautiful, and decided that he's going to have her for himself. Avraham said that she is my sister, which was not a lie, but was not the full truth. So he was trying to avoid being killed on the spot. And what happens is that God that night inflicted on Avimelech a terrible infliction, very similar to the hemorrhoids. Again, it's interesting that this is where it hits again and again and again. He stopped being able to make anything, number one or number two. He got stopped, and that caused him internal pain, severe pain for him and for all of his servants and subjects, all of the people in the palace. I don't know if all the subjects, I don't remember, but a lot of them. And so he prayed he didn't know what to do, and God came to him in a dream and told him to release that woman. So he went back to Abram and asked him to daven, to pray for him, and Abram prayed for him. And he sent him back with gifts, and he told him, you can stay in this land, no problem, you can live here. So Abram stayed. Then the Torah is telling us a whole different story about how Isaac was born. That was exactly at the time between the promise when the angels came to tell Abram that he's going to have a son. And then happened the famine. Then he had the son. Okay, so that story happened right around then. Abram was at the time 100 years of age, right? And Sarah was 99. Was 90.
Abraham was 90.
No. 99 to 100. I thought 100. Anyway, he was an old man. I think it was 100 and she was 90.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we read that whole story about how Isaac was born. We read on Rosh Hashanah, and then there is a section over there which for years I was wondering, what does he do over there? So finally yesterday I looked at it and I realized what it is. Then there is a whole story how Pichol, the Sartzvar, right, the war master, the war minister of Avimelech, told Avimelech that, listen, Avraham is successful. This guy that we let go, and he's very successful. He's the fact that he was able to have a child at 100 years of age made, and he made a big party for the bris. So it was very impressive. So they said, let's be his friends. Let us get close to him. Before they just gave him gifts and shipped him out because, he was trouble for them. Now they wanted to tie the relationship and open an embassy in Beersheba with him or whatever. So they called him and said, let's be friends. So one of the things that the rabbis are saying is that they realized that it's to their advantage to be close to Avraham, so they came to make peace. And when two are making peace, and before they had war, before they can sign a peace treaty, they have to hash out all of the grievances from the history, to make sure that it's all on the table and it's all settled. So Avraham brought in the whole idea that they stole a water source from him, they stole a well from him. So Avimelech said, I didn't know, you didn't tell me, which Avraham didn't tell him, because Avraham rather, just wanted to stay away from him, didn't want to deal with him. Mitov adra, I don't want your good, I don't want your gifts, and I don't want your wrath. But now that Avimelech came to him, he he said, let's settle everything. So Avimelech basically apologized and said, okay, so what did Abraham do? He separated 7 lamb, 7 shiva kvasim. He separated them aside, put them aside, and said, this will be our peace treaty, those 7 lamb. And he gave those 7 lamb as a gift to Avimelech. He gave them as a gift. He was afraid in his mind that Avimelech is going to do something with this lamb improper in terms of idol worship. He will sacrifice it to. So he said, let me give it to you as a gift while they're alive, and you do with it whatever you want when it's not in my possession. Because the way they did a treaty, they had to do something in a common object. They had to make some sort of use one object, and both of them are using it, or both of them are doing something with the object. It can be a pile of rocks. It can be some animal that they split, they cut in half, and they both do something with, and they eat it together, or whatever the custom was at the time. So, but Abraham didn't want to sit and eat with him, and didn't want him to cut the lamb in half, so he just handed over those 7 lamb. That gift cost us dearly. The rabbis are saying that Abraham should have asked God, should have consulted with God as to how to sign this treaty with him. And the fact that he took the liberty to give those 7 animals cost us 2 things. Number 1, 7 months of losing the ark, 1 month per lamb, and we lost 7 pious people. Shimshon, Chofni and Pinchas, the 2 sons of Eli, Saul and his 3 sons were all killed on account of that treaty that Abraham signed with the Philistines. And on top of it, we were not able to put together Jerusalem as a place, as a city that was meant to be our capital city for several generations until the time of David. Because that's why we took we initially put the Mishkan for 369 years in Shiloh. Why didn't we go straight to Jerusalem? Because Jerusalem was then occupied by the grandsons of Avimelech, by the 3rd generation, and Abraham swore not to hurt the grandsons of Avimelech. So those 7, the 7 lamb cost us a lot, and that's why the ark was there for 7 months. Was taken into captivity for 7 months. So after that, 7 months passed. The hemorrhoid didn't go away. So ויקראו פלישתים לכהנים ולקוסמים לאמור מה נעשה לארון השם הודיענו במה נשלחנו למקומו. So they called 2 groups of people. They called the priests and they called magicians. Why did they need those 2 groups of people? The magicians they needed in order to know if they should send the ark back. Is the ark the cause of their trouble? They wouldn't know, so they asked those who can know, the magicians. The priests knew how to treat the ark. If we need to send him, what should we do to it in order to send it properly? Because they knew if they're not going to send it properly, that in and of itself will be considered a problem, and they'll get inflicted with other problems. So they called those 2 experts. An expert on if to send it, and an expert on how to send it. And this is the question that they ask. Mana says, what should we do to the ark when we send it? That's what they ask the Kohanim. And shall we send it altogether? That's what they ask the magicians. So vayomru, im meshalchim. So now, they were hedging as well. They did not want. They all knew that this is the cause of the problem at this point, but it was hard for them to let go, and they want to use it as to still have another test to see if the ark is the culprit or not. And they didn't really want to take the responsibility, the magicians, of making a decision to send it, because this is like their praised treasure that they got from the Jews, like the most. It's like we got all of the archives of the Iranians. That's the most important thing that we got in a while. So they didn't want to let it go, and they didn't want to be blamed later. Why did they let it go? So they were talking in a very unclear way. If you're going to send them, don't send it empty-handed. So they were answering the second question, how should we send it first? So first of all, don't send it empty-handed. Because if you are sending it, that means that you believe that you sinned against it. So you have to repent. You need to have some sort of kapara for what you did. As terapu. So if you send it properly, then you're going to all be healed from your hemorrhoid. And then you will know for sure why the hand of God is not leaving you, because you still are holding his ark. So then they went into more details. What should we give? How are we going to repent? What will be the proper gift to send the ark with? So they said, because both the leaders and the commoners were hit with the same exact thing, let's take that as a sign that we need to send something in the image of what we got hit with. So ואמרו מספר שרני פלישתים 5 תחורי זהב ו5 עכברי זהב כמגפה אחת לכולכם ולשרניכם. So the priests told the leaders that you have to arrange for 5 images of hemorrhoids, or where hemorrhoid is, and 5 made out of gold, and 5 mice of gold, golden mice, because this is one infliction that all of you got, all 5 of you and all 5 cities. Now at this point, all of the Philistines in all 5 cities got the same problem. So that's what you should send. ועשיתם צלמי תחוריכם וצלמי עכבריכם המשחיתים את הארץ. So you should make these.
How do you make an idol that looks like a hemorrhoid?
So nowadays, today as well, you have all kinds of images of gods, or ancient images of gods, the way they are from their back. Just I can show you pictures. The way they are, the small, made out of copper or gold or silver, that looks like a naked person on the back. Okay. And mice, and those are the mice that are destroying the land. Untatem le'elokei Israel kavod, and that is how you are going to give honor and respect to the Israelites' God. Ulai yakel et yado ma'alechem, maybe he is going to make it lighter, make his heavy hand lighter from above you. Ume'al Elohechem, ume'al artzechem, and he's going to lift it from you and from your gods and from your land. And then they gave him a little bit of an incentive. ולמה תכבדו את לבבכם כאשר כיבדו מצרים ופרעה את ליבם, הלא כאשר יתעלל בהם וישלחום וילכו. It says, if you recall, when they first captured the ark, they were very proud of themselves, and even before that, during the battle, they compared themselves to the Egyptians. The Philistines felt that they are as strong as the Egyptians, as the Egyptians were the passe power, the emperor of the world at the time, that just sort of fell down and became, was weakened. All of the other nations that the Jews had a war against, the Ammonites and the Moabites and the Midianites and the Yavinites and all of those were smaller nations. They were not a world power. And the Philistines considered themselves very important, even though they were a very small nation. And they compared themselves to the Egyptians. And what they said is that God used all of his weapons in the 10 plagues with the Egyptians, and there is nothing left in this plague. So now God showed them that he can handle, he has more stuff in his bag of tricks, and it's more severe than what the Egyptians had. The Egyptians got 10 plagues, but one plague at a time. Here they got both plagues at the same time. Some people died, some people were sick. So they saw that they got something more severe. Now what happened with the Egyptians? The Egyptians for the first 5 plagues, they decided that they're not gonna fall for this, and they're not gonna release the Jews. They made their heart, they closed their heart in the first 5 plagues. The last 5 plagues, God closed their heart. If you would left them on their own, they would change their mind, and they would let the Jews early. So God held them in order to give them the last 5 plagues. But the first 5 plagues, they did it to themselves. So, and apparently all of that information was known to, at least to the magicians or to the priests of the surrounding nations. So they said, why are we repeating the same problems that the same mistake that the Egyptians made? They hardened their heart for a while, and then they couldn't help themselves, and they got destroyed totally. Let us not harden our hearts, and let's release this stupid ark, this holy ark, or whatever they wanted to call it, this menacing ark, and let us not repeat what happened to Mitzrayim and Pharaoh, because eventually the Jewish God, eventually played with them and hardened their heart and caused them a lot more problem and a lot more distress and a lot more distraction. So now, and again, they're doing it with half heart, because they really, really, really want to keep it. So they said, so let's now, they created a new test for themselves. So said, let's send the ark. How are we going to send the ark? Let's build a new wagon. A new wagon for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is because anything that has to do with the ark anything that has to do with God or with the temple had to be new. You couldn't get second-hand altar, find online, second-hand altar wanted. You needed everything new. So when they wanted to ship the ark, they needed a new wagon. A new wagon also doesn't run as well as an old wagon. The wheels and the axles are not, broken in. So it will be hard to leave. And they were trying to put as many barriers as possible to see if the ark is not going to leave, then we will know that it needs to stay. So let's give them, a new wagon, which is respectful, but it's hard to drive. And then they took ושתי פרות עלות, אשר לא עלה עליהם עול. And they took 2 cows that never worked the field. So they're not used to working. Again, if any of you is a farmer, which I don't think you were, you would know that a cow or an ox that didn't work, it's very hard to. It's not easy for them to start working. It takes some effort. So again, if you put those kind of cows to carry the wagon, the likelihood is that they're not going to move, because it's hard. ואסרתם את הפרות בעגלה, and you should tie those cows onto that wagon. והשיבותם בניהם אחריהם הביתה. And take cows that have calves, that have baby cows born to them, and they are still taking care of them. And a cow will never, most animals will never leave their kids, their offspring behind. And you should put those calves right directly behind them. So they will have all the incentive to turn around and go away from the Jewish border. So, and again, if God is wanting this ark so badly, he will make sure to change the nature of the animals, and they're not going to turn around, what ultimately happened, which is amazing that they were attuned to this kind of and ולקחתם את ארון Hashem, and you should take the ark of God, ונתתם אותו על הגלן, you should put it on that wagon, ואת כלי הזהב אשר השיבותם לו השם, תשימו בארגז מצידו, ושילחתם אותו והלך. And the golden stuff that you created, the 5 mice and the 5 hemorrhoid-looking icons, you should put in a box on the side of the ark, and you should send it, and it will go. Now, let's talk about this box. What happened here is they made a modification to the ark. They didn't know where to put those idols. And apparently they didn't feel comfortable, or they couldn't, or they whatever, to put it in the ark itself, which is a miracle in and of itself. So they built a golden box, and they attached it, soldered it, or whatever, they attached it somehow to the Ark of the Covenant, which is, and in that box they would put those idols, and they shipped it. Now what happened to that box later? When the Ark arrived back at the Jewish land and was in our hands again, we were all told not to touch the Ark. So that box remained there. We removed the idols, because the idols, not allowed to have that there. But the box remained. And the box, then we used the box as a shelf to put the Sefer Torah that Moshe wrote, to rest it on that box. What happened is that there was a shelf attached to the box, to the ark. And before the ark was captured, the Sefer Torah that Moshe wrote was resting on that shelf on the side of the ark. They took that shelf and they converted into a whole box, so they can put stuff on it and it's not going to fall as they are riding with the wagon. Those 10 icons are not going to get lost. So they created a box. We kept that box. 400 years later, at the time of King Yeshayahu, there were a whole series of kings that didn't do the right thing, and they let the first temple fall apart until Yeshayahu came. He became a king when he was 7, I think, or 8. He was very young, but as he was one of the last really good kings, and he ordered all of the Kohanim to fix up the Bet HaMikdash. So the Kohen, the high priest of the time, walked into the Holy of Holies in order to fix it up, which is allowed under certain circumstances. You're allowed to fix up the place. And he saw that the Sefer Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, who was sitting on that box, is opened in the Tochacha, is opened in the admonitions at the end of Sefer Dvarim. And he realized that that's not a good sign, because that's not where the Sefer Torah should be open to. So he ran to Yeshayahu, and Yeshayahu went to Huldah Neviah, to the prophet Huldah. He didn't go to Jeremiah because he wanted to go to a woman who will be more compassionate, right? So he went to Huldah, but she told him things as they are, that this is a bad sign, and the temple eventually is going to be destroyed, and it's coming. So Yeshayahu didn't want the ark to fall in captivity again when Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the Bet HaMikdash, so he took it and hid it. And he hid with it several things. There was a whole list of things that he hid, and they were not found, they were not opened up for the second temple. It remained hidden till this very day, somewhere under Temple Mount. And the Arabs are looking for it, and archaeologists are looking for it for many, many, many years. So it's the jar with the man, with the sample of the man that Moshe Rabbeinu set aside. The shemen hamishcha, the special oil that's being used to anoint kings, and the staff of Aaron, who grew almonds, shkedim, right, that the flower, so they put the staff also away, and the ark, and the box that's connected to the ark, because they didn't want to separate it. So this is this ark, this is this box that was created by the Philistines and was used in order to transport gifts to God. Even though the gifts were misguided, the actual box became part of the Holy Ark, and it exists today somewhere deep down in the bowels of the mountain. And God willing, when Mashiach comes, we'll find it, and it will be...
Is it possible that those other items are in the box? The Shemen HaMishcha and...
Possible, I don't know. But they're with it. I don't know exactly where. That's a good guess. Possibility. Yeah.
Use the box.
Yeah. Interesting.
You never know when you need a box.
You never know when you need a box, exactly.
I collect them.